This podcast had a few technical difficulties in the recording. My humblest apologies, and I hope you enjoy the show. This is Chit and Chat.
Hello, and welcome to Chit and Chat, a podcast all about encouraging others. Who needs encouragement? You? Well, we've got you covered. We reach out to musicians, comedians, and other organizations who are all about encouraging their communities. Help us spread the love by sharing this podcast. And now, here's your host of Chit and Chat, Jody Sheffield.
Today, on the Chit and Chat podcast, I am talking with a legend. She's a stand-up comedian, motivational speaker, veteran actress, author, writer, and as she says, supermodel mom, and a co-podcaster. She began her path to stardom at a very young age of 11 years old and was well on her way to becoming a professional dancer. But God had other plans for my next guest. Kerri Pomarolli has become one of the most sought-out comedians in the country, as she has shared the stage with Sherri Shepherd, Jim Kerri, Robin Williams, Jay Leno, and many, many others. Kerri is an accomplished actress with credits that include over 29 appearances from The Tonight Show, Comedy Central, soaps in Port Charles, General Hospital, and The Young and the Restless. Kerri Pomarolli is my next guest here on Chit and Chat. Hello, Kerri.
Hi, Jody. Hey,
How are you?
I'm good. Sorry it took me a minute to get on. I went to the other link first.
No problem.
Hey, Jody, where are you located?
I'm in Washington State. It's Silverdale, Washington.
Cool.
So I want to get going. And when I first reached out to you, I almost want to title this one "She Said Yes," because when when I messaged you, I'm like, she said yes. No way.
People say that to me all the time. I think I do have agents and managers, but I do my own. So I get that, and it always makes me laugh. What city are you in Washington?
I'm in Silverdale.
Like, where is that, out of Tacoma or out of Seattle?
Yeah, just past Tacoma. Yeah, about 45 minutes.
Yeah, I have a show there. You should come sneak in. It's a ladies' night, but you can totally come.
Awesome.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, Kerri Pomarolli is on today, and as I said earlier, she said yes, and I was shocked when she said yes. You want to be on Chit and Chat, so thank you very much.
Oh, absolutely! I'm so happy to be here.
Got a few icebreaker questions to get the ball rolling, get the vibes out. Since you're a mom, what superpower would you most want to have to help you day to day in your everything going on?
I would like the power of invisibility because I don't want my kids to bother me.
I feel you. I have 4 kids. They're adults now. Yeah. So, if you had a time machine to go back to a certain time period, where would you travel to and why?
I really, really love the 1950s because that's the generation that my dad grew up in. Mm-hmm. And I think everything about it seems so idealistic and beautiful, and the fashion was great. And I think I just would love a taste of what it was like to be like a teen back in the 50s with the sock hops and all that fun stuff. As a comedian, I had some really good advice about don't rush the creative process. And like comedian Bone Hampton was one of my mentors, and he was like, don't do a CD before you're ready. Don't do a DVD. Don't go on YouTube and put all your material out. People really want to just get famous right away. But what I've really learned is you need to perfect your craft. And he was like, do 5 minutes that is undeniably funny, and then do 10, and then do 15. Don't rush to doing 45 minutes of material. Make sure that you're excellent before you go to the next level.
Gotcha. And if you had to delete all your phone, which 3 apps are you keeping?
Oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed, but it would have to be Facebook and Instagram because I have a severe problem. It's so bad. And then I think, well, for technical reasons, it would be Google because I need to keep up with all my Hollywood gossip and like what's going on with Pete Davidson and Kim Kardashian. I mean, I obviously need to know that. So my Google News.
Gotcha. That definitely helps to get the day going. Coffee and Google.
Yeah, for sure. Not being afraid to delegate is one of the things that I learned early on. Sometimes we have to ask for help. Sometimes we have to be a little bit less controlling and hand over the reins to other people and know that it's going to be okay. And I think a lot of us women and moms, especially I'm a single mom, we just feel this guilt if we don't do it all the time, and then we burn out. We're like, we don't know what happened. So I think the power of delegating, in whatever way we can, like, and I've learned to say no as I get older. I've learned to say no sometimes when maybe 10 years ago I would have said yes to every little thing.
Right. You and Lucy started a podcast, right?
Yeah.
It's called This Is Not a Good Idea.
Yes.
Why is it not a good idea?
Well, we were having dinner arguing as we often do. And then her dad said, you guys need to do a podcast. And we both said, that is not a good idea. We don't need to air our public laundry, to the world. And then I said, well, you never know. And she is 14 going on 45. As you know, you have children. The minute they turn 12, their brains expand to know everything in the whole wide world. And parents know nothing. And I just thought, well, maybe. And she always said, if I ever run for public office, I'm never going to get elected because people are going to go back and listen to this podcast. And I was like, yeah, I have dirt on you now. So it was something we started during COVID. And it's 15-minute episodes. We basically just pick a topic, as you know, like 80s movies. Why are they better than everything else? And then we always have opposing views, it seems. But it's been kind of fun. I've enjoyed it.
I saw your Grease one. That was pretty funny.
Yeah, right. She's like, why do I have to wear leather pants to get a boy? I'm like, you don't. You have to dance and smoke cigarettes.
That's
Please.
awesome. How'd you get involved in comedy?
I started as an actor, even a child actor. I was doing theater, and then I did some commercials, and as a kid back in Detroit. And I think it was in my blood to be a performer. I don't know. You have 4 kids. Like, some of them just come out of the womb with a certain personality or a certain desire to do something. And I think performing was just something God gave me I was always like, when my parents would go to the movies, I would make my babysitters put on a wig and a hula skirt and do a show with me at 11 o'clock at night. And then, threaten them if they didn't want to do it. And my little brother was always the MC. And then as a Christian in Hollywood, I felt I was in Second City doing comedy, but not stand up. And I felt that I needed to take more control of the material. And really, I feel like it was a God-given idea to do stand up so I could control the content more than anything about being clean. So that's kind of how it started.
Gotcha. Do you remember your very first show? When and where?
Oh, heck yeah. I was terrified. And it was at the Hollywood Improv, the biggest comedy club in the world. I literally was sitting at the Hollywood Improv one night, and Robin Williams was 3 feet behind me. I mean, That's how big that club is. And I was probably comic number 23, and I was praying, and I was like, this is going to bomb so bad. And then I did it, and I just got the bug. It just was addicting from that point on. And it was kind of like a rocket. Chris Rock, wait, was it Chris Rock? No, Richard Pryor said that comedy was the same rush as drugs. Like that adrenaline rush of making an audience laugh. So I love the fact that I got to be on the Tonight Show so many times, and just being a fangirl, knowing that Ben Affleck and I were in the same room, or John Travolta said hello to me, or Isaac from The Love Boat and I were in a skit together. You never knew who was going to be there. Like, I shared a dressing room. Well, I was there first and he came later, but JFK Jr. I mean, it's mind blowing just as a fan, to do a skit with Jim Kerri. And I look back on that time and I'm just really grateful for the opportunities that I had. Jay Leno was amazing and kind and really lovely to work with. So it was always a joy, like every time.
And God's had a plan for you. I read you were a dancer a little while, but He's had a plan for you the entire time, hasn't He?
I know. I was one of those kids that got that scoliosis test in sixth grade and failed miserably, and the next thing you know, I was having surgery. But now I kick around on stage in my comedy act, so I think I'm still using my jazz skills. Oh, my life is comedy every day, all day. Like, I mean, I was going to physical therapy for my back today, and then the elevator was broken, and I had to climb 6 flights of stairs. And as my comedian brain, I was like, is this some sort of matrix test to see if I'm really like healed or if I'm faking my injury? They're like, if you make it up the top of the stairs, you don't need to be here anymore. Like, then I'm leaving physical therapy, and we share a parking lot with the people that are doing psychotherapy. And this guy and I were getting in a fight over the parking space. And I was like, in my comedy mind, I'm like, you know what? If you'd taken your Prozac, maybe you'd not be so angry right now. So I think having a comedic mind is a gift and a curse because it can get you in trouble at the same time. But material is just everywhere. It's just all the time.
Oftentimes you hear comedians say, I made it when blank. When did Kerri know she made it?
Shoot, tomorrow. I mean, I called my friend Angela Hoover several years ago, and I was complaining about something, and she's a comedian, and she said, Kerri, we make a living doing the thing that we dream about. We make a living. Mm-hmm. And that's when it hit me. Just to reiterate about COVID, when I lost all my jobs, I really had an appreciation for how much a privilege it is to do what I do. And I really feel like I've made it when I take into consideration that I've had every bad day job you can imagine. I've been a children's party entertainer. I've sold cellular phones. I've catered. I've waitressed. I've done all these things. And I get to tell jokes for a living and tell people about Jesus Christ. And I get to do that. I will never take it for granted. I mean, that to me is making it.
So you're on stage making people laugh and sharing the gospel. You're like a comedic pastor or preacher.
I am. I'm like a stealth evangelist. They don't know it's coming. They're laughing. And then I tell my testimony, and then they're crying. And then I'm like, you want to accept Jesus? Like, I mean, yeah, I'm like a secret agent for the Holy Spirit.
Nice. Mm-hmm. Double O Kerri.
Double okay, for sure.
As a comedian, how do you define success, and when did you realize that this career was what you were meant to do?
Oh, so fast. Like a few months into it when I was doing comedy. And I mean, it was so early on that I got to perform with Zach Levi, who was in Shazam, and Sherry Shepherd, who was on The View, and all these amazing people. And I got on stage, and I remember Sherry Shepherd. I had this joke, and she really liked it. It was a big hit, and she's like, "Oh, I don't want to follow her," and earning the respect of other comedians. I mean, right away, it's like this feeling of, okay, now I know that I know. And then even now, after COVID, getting back on stage, I do a lot of other things. I write and I teach and I coach and all those things. But when I'm on stage with a microphone, that's the purpose. Like everything else, I've tried to do a lot of other. I was doing corporate, I was doing motivational speaking and all these other things. But in my life, all roads lead to comedy.
Have you ever received words of encouragement? This is a podcast of encouraging people, just kind of to motivate you, or perhaps vice versa. You motivated somebody else who came to a show or you met personally that might have helped them get out of their box.
Well, 100%, if I can do it, anybody can. I mean, I always joke, I wanted to have a ministry, and God said, this is your ministry. You have a big mouth and a dysfunctional family. Go. I mean, I had no skills in comedy. I took stand-up comedy classes and I quit because I was horrible. I quit. I was so bad. And when God has a purpose for your life, He will give you that favor. He will give you the purpose. He will give it to you. I don't care where you are in life right now. God does have a purpose for you. And if He puts a dream in your heart, you need to pray to God to open those doors wide or take that dream away. And I think that's the way people always go, well, I'm destined to be an actor. I'm destined to come out to Hollywood. I'm like, well, what makes you think so? And if they say it's just a passion and it won't go away, then I say, have you put the work in? So if somebody's listening to me right now, is where you put the work in. Right now is where you start the journey. There's no waiting. You don't have to live in LA anymore. You don't have to live in New York to be in entertainment or whatever you want to do. If it's ministry or if it's drawing or art or like the sky's the limit. I did not have any famous relatives. I didn't have any Hollywood connections or anything. And I've been out here, 20 years slugging away at it. But if you have a dream, just pray about it and say, Lord, just open the right doors. Stand-up comedy was not my dream. It was not what I wanted to do. I wanted to be an actor and marry Matt Damon and live on the beach in our mansion in Malibu. But when God gave me stand-up comedy, he transformed my desires to line up with what he had for me.
You've written a few books. Can you tell us about them?
Yeah, thanks for asking. My latest books are on Amazon right now. There's a verse in the Bible that's called Proverbs 31, and it talks about God's view of the perfect woman. And as I like to say, I read that verse many times, and I was like, Lord, that's not me. I can't relate to this rise early and her kids call her blessed, because I've been called a lot of things by my kids in the morning, but it's not blessed. And so I wrote this book called the Proverbs 32 Woman. She rises late and her kids make her breakfast. Sort of my answer to the Proverbs 31 Woman. It's sort of a comedy book, a lighthearted look at life's issues. And then I wrote a devotional that goes with it, the Proverbs 32 Woman devotional. And so they're both on Amazon, and I've written some other books, and I've written for the Hallmark Channel. I love that job very, very much. Super grateful to have that job, writing movies for the Hallmark Channel.
So what's your go-to breakfast in the morning?
Okay, so the truth is I'm doing this thing, perhaps you've heard of it, the intermittent fasting. So I don't eat breakfast because I think that's going to help me lose 20 pounds. It has not worked yet, but I keep thinking, and if I have a banana split for lunch, it's supposed to balance out, but it's not working so far. So can I tell people to come see me if they're listening in Washington?
Share away.
There's a city called Tumwater, Washington. And I'm doing a show on February 25th. It's a ladies' night out, but if you're a dude, you can totally still come. And I'm doing a comedy show in Washington, February 25th. And if you go on my social media at Kerri Pom on Instagram or my website, KerriPom.com, you can see more about it. And I hope you will come join me.
That was my next on my list. You did that for me. Thank you. Who was your biggest influence growing up?
Carol Burnett, for sure. And Tracy Ullman.
Okay.
No doubt. Like, they're hysterical. And Tim Conway and Don Knotts and Harvey Korman and, Lucille Ball. And honestly, Laverne and Shirley their comedic talents are so underrated. People don't realize how amazing they were at physical comedy.
I was born in 1970, so I was a big late 70s.
Yeah, I was born in 73. Those are my people. I mean, Happy Days, Laverne and Shirley. They were great. Gary Marshall, everything he did was brilliant.
Happy Days. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, any words of wisdom you want to share with somebody as we close out? I know you're on a tight schedule. Oh,
thank you so much. I just want to encourage anybody who's listening that there's no difference between me and you in what I do and, the so-called success that you might be listening to. And like I said before, there's no time like the present. We have no time to waste. We have no time to do what God has put us on this earth to do. And, just find a way my advice to you, if there's something that you want to do that you're not doing, find somebody who's better at it than you are and shadow them and intern for them and ask them to mentor you. And find out how they did it, because it's constantly a learning curve to get better at our crafts.
Kerri, it's nice talking to you. Kerri Pomarolli, excuse me.
Pomarolli, no, it's actually Pomarolli.
Pomarolli, I'm sorry.
Yeah, with an O, but that's okay. I'll answer to whatever. It's fine.
But I will always remember this because she said yes and answered my reply. So thank you very much for taking the time.
Absolutely, Jody. Thank you. Thank you, you too.
God bless. This episode of Chit and Chat was brought to you by Veteran Roasters Coffee. Each purchase of Veteran Roasters Coffee helps employ one of tens of thousands of U.S. military veterans who have found hardship and difficulty upon transitioning home from service. They promise you the best beans from the best veteran-owned coffee company. Veterans helping veterans one cup at a time. Use the code CHITCHAT25 to receive 25% off your purchase at veteranroasters.com.